Arianne here from the Movement Paradigm. Today I'm going to talk about 8 ways that you can potentially compensate in your plank and 8 things to do instead. Whether you're doing planks already or you've never done a plank and you want to know why you're doing a plank, let's talk about the importance of them. So the plank is a great exercise. It's considered an anti-extension or back bending exercise. It is targeting the anterior core, and it really helps to improve the midline stability of the body. So we need that for all movement patterns. If we think about our basic daily life patterns to our exercising, such as deadlifts and squats and kettlebell swings, the plank is really a foundational movement for all of these other wonderful things. And as it relates to compensations, the most important thing is we're not looking for perfection. We just want to maximize the effectiveness of the exercise that you're doing. That's what you want to do with all your training, but especially in this exercise. The first thing that you can do wrong in your plank is trying to hold for time. I see lots of people that are trying to hold for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, or the longest plank in the world I think was 8 hours. But really, that's not the point of the plank. So instead of using time, I would love for you to use your breath. So using your breath as your repetition. So here, taking a big inhale, exhale, belly button goes in towards the spine, ribs come down. Holding that position for as many breaths as you can, which typically is about 5 to 10 breaths. So roughly 30 seconds or so if you're thinking of it from a duration standpoint. So number 2 is breathing. So as we talked about using your breath versus time, learning how to breathe properly in the plank and all movement is very important. So we want to think of it as a diaphragmatic pattern. So as you're inhaling, your abdomen is expanding 360 degrees. When you exhale, belly button goes in towards the spine, ribs come down to create some tension and some bracing here. So the compensation is breath holding, where people do not breathe during the movement pattern. So once again, we want to think about using the breath as the repetition. So you're doing as many breaths as you can in the movement pattern. And I can assure you that it would be much less than what you were probably doing already. Number 3 is neck position. A lot of times we see this hyperextended neck, so kind of looking up like this, or just the opposite, which is looking down like this. So we want to just look nice and neutral, just a gaze towards the floor, holding that position nice and strong. That way we can prevent any discomfort and make sure that we're stabilizing through that whole anterior chain, that front of our body. Number 4 is the low back sag. So I'm sure that you've seen this before, when the low back's just kind of dipping down. So instead, we want to have actually a nice tuck of the pelvis. So thinking about if your pelvis was a bucket of water, pouring the water out the back. So there's a little tuck, which brings the rib cage over top of the pelvis. So that gives us a much stronger position through the trunk, so it allows us to stack the rib cage over the pelvis to really maximize the recruitment of this front of the core. Number 5 is just the opposite. So it's having the butt up in the air like this, okay? And that means that you're really not stabilizing. So we want to think about bringing the same thing, kind of bringing the body more parallel towards the ground. And in which case our shoulders will be slightly higher than our pelvis because just of our lever. So we're going to be at a slight angle there, which is normal, but we still want to be more parallel to the ground overall. Number 6 is going to be the knees bent in the plank. So that would look something like this. So you can notice that when I bend my knees, I actually lose control in my whole body, especially the low back. So a lot of times those compensations will go together, the low back sag and the knee bent position. So instead, you want to think about lengthening through your heel. So think of it like you're stretching your hamstring out and you're lengthening through the heel there. That will give you a really nice, strong tension position. Number 7 is going to be shoulder blade position. This is a really important one. So a lot of times we see the shoulder blades sinking down like this. And that creates a lot of stress on the shoulder. It really destabilizes the trunk. So instead, we want to think about pressing the shoulders, pressing the ground away like this. So I always like to use the cue, press the ground away, spread your wings, which means that you're spreading the shoulder blades. That gives you a really nice strong connection of some of the important scapular stabilizers that actually intimately connect with your core. So it's really, really powerful. You get a lot more tension through the whole body when you do that. Last but definitely not least is pain. Many people think that when they have back pain specifically, that if they do planks, it will get better. And unfortunately, that is not necessarily the case. It has been well researched that when there is pain, especially around the low back area, but anywhere in the body, that there is decreased motor control, which means decreased stability, decreased coordination, timing, sequencing, activation of all of these muscles. So if you have acute low back pain and you think that doing a plank is going to help it, it might not be the best choice of exercises at that time. You want to make sure that you're in a good place and you've been instructed by a qualified health professional to direct you on when this is appropriate. But I would not necessarily do planks when you have acute low back pain. That's rarely what I do. I really focus on breath work and really activating the deep core stabilizers, which is actually a little bit different than the plank, because the plank, you're working the inner and outer core musculature in addition to other aspects of the body. But it's important to think of it from a more global perspective. We are targeting the outer and inner when we're doing a plank. When you are in pain, it's going to be more important to focus on the reflexive stabilizers, which is the inner core. So in summary, the plank can be an awesome exercise to include in your training program. And if you're already doing the plank, you can take this opportunity to clean up any compensations that I might have discussed today. So in summary, I want to make sure that you have the key fundamental points in putting all of those pieces together. So when you set up, you can think of setting your index finger parallel and then a really active hand. So spreading those fingers really wide. That will take pressure off of the wrist. So when you place them directly under your shoulder, you'll step back into that high plank, making sure that the head is nice and neutral, just looking down, relaxed, pressing the shoulders away, so pressing the ground away, spreading those wings. Slight tuck in the pelvis to stack the rib cage, using your breath as your repetition. And then lastly is lengthening through the heel so you keep that nice strong position there. All right, as always, thank you so much for your support, and please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Arianne. Don't forget to hit that little alert button to stay tuned for new content every week. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.